Hi guys, just going to review the weekend's action of rugby. So there was more into pros. No return for Snaben at Tobin Park. I was wondering if he was going to make a return, but he out injured again. John Klein is out as well for Munster, so two South Africans getting injured. Um, but yeah, like I like to make a video just talking about both games. I don't like to make separate ones because I don't think it'll get as many views, and then more like less people are going to watch it. I don't think. Saw a bit of the Ulster Connaught game when I was out with the Martello, but I had to watch that properly if I wanted to do a review on it. So when I got home, I watched it. Well, yeah, let's start with Munster and Leinster, and much like, well, I mean, yeah, when I went to see Leinster playing Munster in Croke Park, utter dominance from Leinster. Unfortunately, no contest. I say that unfortunately, like I'm a Leinster supporter, not one of the Leinster boys, but now I'm from Dublin and now I'm living in Wexford, so but like I like to see all the provinces doing well, and I like a bit of competition, and I just felt like that game was like, I mean, for a while it was Munster having a go, but they couldn't break down Leinster on their own try line, even with an extra man. Like, I just thought to myself, no, that was an opportunity wasted. Now I did think Leinster were a bit fortunate a few times to get away with not getting a yellow card sooner. But I kind of like that they've brought that to their game. I think Irish rugby has a tendency to be too nice, so I think that edge to their game is something I like watching. They're not afraid to risk it, and to kind of live on the edge. And that hard line that they're running, like coming up in your face, it does mean that sometimes you'll be caught offside. But look, I'd rather get caught offside than get absolutely smashed and lose the collisions. That's just me. I'm sure most people are the same on rugby terms. But I thought you could see Henshaw and Ringrose and their Irish experience. They just used that so well. Tom Farrell had a brilliant game last week, but he just wasn't given the time or space this week to do anything. And now I do get that Ulster had a red card too, so and that was early enough when Tom O'Toole got sent off, and they had to bring on another tight head, the brilliant Scott Wilson, and we'll discuss him as well. But nah, I thought Munster were outclassed, if I'm being honest, and I thought Leinster showed their dominance. Like when I watched Leinster playing Munster in Croke Park, it was very stop start. It was like watching an NFL game, and I like playing American football, but watching it, it's just very slow. I like a more high tempo game, which is why I play rugby. And I could never get into watching NFL. Um, but in that game, when Snyman got that final bonus point try, once Leinster had the bonus point wrapped up in the first half, they literally shut up shop and were like, try and break us down. And Munster just didn't have the answers. They got like one try, but it was a consolation try, if anything. 26-12, Leinster were never going to lose that game. This game, I think Leinster really put the foot in the throat and was like, no, we're taking this to you. Um, Thought Prendergast deservedly got man of the match. I was there. I thought the camera had zoomed in on Caelan Doris for a second. I was like, no, Prendergast had a brilliant game. That try he got was excellently taken. He left Tom Farrell for dead, the way Tom Farrell did with Ulster. Um, and I just felt like he stood out, even though Leinster were so clearly dominant in that game. It's kind of hard to see any others who kind of single out and say, oh, they were the main difference between the team, because I just thought Leinster were so much more dominant. Like, they were better in every area. So it's not as if you could say, oh, this is the reason they won, that's the reason. No, they won because of a collective effort, which is great. I think that's like the Springboks. A lot of times it's not even necessarily individual brilliance. You might see Kirkley Aronson, Cheslin Colby, yeah, fair enough, but normally it's a collective, because that's the reason we love watching Pacific Island teams, is because of the individual moments of brilliance, but they don't put it together, and that's why they don't win games. Leinster really had a complete polished performance. You could say ill discipline, and all Irish pundits seem to love to pick up on that. I actually think it's a good thing. Get a bit of niggle, get a bit of edge to our game, so we don't get bullied and pushed around the field. It hasn't done us any good. I feel like referees penalise us harsher. People would say we get the rub of the green. What games are you watching? When I watched that game in Pretoria against South Africa in the summer just gone, we were absolutely shafted by Luke Pearce. So I'll give you that one. That'll be my argument against you. But no, extremely poor by Munster. I just thought they didn't really fire a shot. Thought Tom Ahern looked good, but I'm there thinking, why the hell is he not in second row? Like the height of him, I know I'm not normally the one to do that. Maybe they were going off equal height, is what I was thinking, but then they had Tyg Byrne and Snyman in together, so mustn't have been that issue. I just think maybe Finian Wycherley on the bench, as the replacement second row as opposed to starting, bring John Hodnett into the back row, and then have Tyg Byrne and Tom Ahern in the second row. Like that's Byrne and Ahern, Byrne Ahern. But I think they'd be a stronger combination. Wycherley just not being bad to the fella, but he's not as good as those two. And that's just being real. I don't see why they put Gavin Coombs in at second row. He's an eight, but he never got firing at all. Alex Kendellen, a few carries, but again, didn't really get firing either. Todd Ahern did alright, had a few big moments in the game, got their only try. He's a smashing player, but unfortunately, he's just in a team that got utterly steamrolled. Ollie Jaeger held his own a few scrums, but it just didn't last. And then Porter beat him for power. Jaeger was kind of clever, he wasn't looking to outmuscle Porter and won a few technical penalties, like the elbow going to ground, so if my left elbow hits the ground, as Lou said, that's an automatic penalty. But as you say, once Porter got the measure of him, he was just destroying him. Jaeger for me is one that just hasn't lived up to the hype, and he's been someone who I've been speaking highly of, but unfortunately he just hasn't lived up to the expectations that I had from him. I wish him well. I think he's a good player. I think he's got a very good head on his shoulders and one hell of a moustache. Seems like a lovely fella as well. I'd like to see him do well. It's just unfortunate all the shit that's gone on with Munster. Dan Bluler, the South African lad on the loose head side, I think is a very good player. Had an excellent game against Stade Francais, but I think Rabah Slimani absolutely schooled him in the scrum. There's no shame that Slimani is one of the best, very tactical scrummager, and I think he really showed why Leinster brought him in that game. Jack Boyle was quite solid, but I think the only reason they lost the scrums before Andrew Porter came on, because Jaeger was staying still. Like normally, if you go in, the tight head will kind of stand up when the pressure comes on. Jaeger was staying down, so he was doing a good job. I won't go too much into the technicality of the scrum, but as a tight head, if there's other dominance, the loose head gets under you and pops you up. That wasn't happening, so it was Slimani who was putting so much pressure on Bluler that he was just destroying him, unfortunately, and the elbow was dropping to the ground, and once one lad goes down, the scrum is lost, and that was the case. That's why I felt like having Ahern, because he's a taller, stronger fella. You put him in, you get more of a drive, and you put Tyg Byrne in at the loose head side, you put Ahern in at the tight head second row side to give Jaeger a bit more of a push, and then you've Gavin Coombs, who's a big lad, pushing in behind them at number 8, and then put John Hodnett on at 7, stick Alex Kendellen at 6. I just don't know. But they got outplayed in every area. Gary Ringrose smashed people. He was taking names, wasn't he? He took out Mike Haley, got him with a really good shot, and took out Scannell. Must have been looking for the black scrum cap. Both of them were wearing them. Shane Daly looked good in the first couple of minutes of the first half, but he went out of it eventually. He nearly got a try. Very unfortunate. But yeah, like the Leinster pack just dominated. Their line out was much better as well. I thought Tyg Byrne got a few good carries and looked good. Got a few good offloads. Took the ball to the line before just giving it out the back, which I like. You need your pack carrying first. Like their first instinct should be carry the ball and then pass. But Ireland, a lot of times I think the problem is that we take it up to the line and then we just give it out the back. But it's so predictable that we get caught behind the gain line. But that was happening to Munster a few times because Leinster were just hitting them. They were open their face. You see how effective it is because it's like a net coming over them, And like the first try for Luke McGrath, I thought the half-back pairing for Leinster were very good. And Luke McGrath spotted a gap, but it was huge, wasn't it? Drive a truck through that gap. Should always have a pillar, and Munster were done against Zebra earlier in the season. Couple of times, not just twice. Twice they got tries off it, but there were a few times where they just weren't defending at the pillars, like right beside the base of the ruck, where you have to stay there. If you go, the scrum half is fast, he goes through that gap. Typically, your pillars are your bigger fellas as well, so they're slower to react. But that is the one position. We're even coaching young fellas to do that, like young lads, so you absolutely cannot leave that channel open. But they did, and they got punished for it. And then Sam Prendergast took the ball to the line and just ghosted through really well, made it look easy. And then Van der Fleer, as he always does, pops up with a try. So, and then Doris finishing it off. Bonus point wrapped up with her and getting a consolation try, but that's all it was. There's not much more to say other than Leinster dominated the scrum, which they did. It was shambolic, and I expected more, I'll be honest. That's why I thought Ahern should have gone in at the tight head side to give a bit more of a shove, especially when Andrew Porter was on the field. And came on early. Geez, even when he's off the bench, he's doing a minimum of 60 minutes. But yeah, Slimani on the tight head, just utter domination. Then Cian Healy came on for 28 minutes. Jesus, that's the first time I've seen that in a while. But yeah, it was good to see Leinster not be afraid to kind of push the ref a little and kind of go, look, we're going to take it to the edge as far as we can go, because that's how teams win. How many penalties did the All Blacks concede? Loads. You're thinking they should have been yellow carded sooner. I thought Leinster should have as well, but I don't think that would have cost them the game. Just thought they were so much better in the key areas. So yeah, utter domination. The Ulster game, or sorry, before we go into that, I'll just say the standout players that I think. So I thought Prendergast deserved man of the match. I thought the halfback pair in general were much better than Munster, and that's what won them the game. But it got them into a strong position. The front row, like for Leinster, Slimani in particular, dominated Dan Bluler. So that's what really gave them the edge in the scrums. McCarthy and Ryan were strong. I think Baird had one of his more quiet games, didn't do anything wrong. There were a lot of players who did very well, they just did what they had to do. And that's what you want, the collective effort. Darius had a good game, and Van der Fleer obviously as well. Some very strong carries from both of them. But I think the centre partnership, the half-back pair and the front row is what did it for Leinster. Because Ringrose and Henshaw were putting so much pressure on Rory Scannell and Tom Farrell. They just weren't getting any time on the ball, and it was being shut down instantly, and that was really good. And then Tommy O'Brien making some great cover tackles. So, and then Jamie Osborne looked comfortable all game. No issues with him at all. Did very, very well, comfortable enough. Yeah. So, be Sam Prendergast, Rabah Slimani, Andrew Porter when he came on, and then Ringrose and Henshaw just marked him out of the game, and Luke McGrath was very good when he was on. So moving on to the Ulster game, that was one I think Connaught will feel the same as Munster. They should have taken a lot of opportunities, but they had more of a realistic chance of winning the game than Munster ever did. Too many mistakes. They dropped the ball so many times. Cahill Ford, a player whose praises I've been singing, putting the ball out on the full. Don't know why they're not doing a right-footed kicker one side and then a left-footed on the other. So if you're on the right side, get a left-footer because he's more of an angle to work with. I don't get their thinking. Jack Carty going the left because he's a right-footed kicker gives you more of an open angle. You open up the pitch for yourself more, and then Cahill Ford kick it out on the right-hand side. It's the same. There's always a bit of a wind, because it's the west. But yeah, don't get their thinking there. We always do it for Ireland as well. We get James Lowe kicking. I know he's a left winger, but he's left footed. Put him on the right hand side when you get a chance and he has a big boot on him. Get him to put it out into touch. That's what we should be doing. Our fly halves are all right footed, so we get them to kick it out on the left hand side. But I don't get their thinking. The ball stays in field and we get attacked by the back three every time. Don't get their thinking. We'll need to watch that against England because we'll be screwed if we don't do that. But back to the Connaught v Ulster game. Connaught had domination in the scrum. I was singing Scott Wilson's praise and I said we come to him. Some great carries But my God, the scrum was poor for Ulster, very poor. They got absolutely destroyed. Finlay Bealham is a lot more experienced than Eric O'Sullivan. And I played with Eric O'Sullivan actually in St Mary's. Nice fella. Played number 8 when I was playing with them. So that's a while ago. But as tends to happen, unfortunately, with a lot of guys, they're told basically there's loads of number 8s and back rowers. So if you specialise in the front row, you'll get a place in a team or will change into another player. I don't like how we do that in Ireland. And we were saying it about your man Izuchukwu, we don't produce athletes like him. It's like we just don't pick athletes like him, is the truth of the matter. We change people's positions and we tell them that they have to play in certain areas just because of their build. I thought he had a very good game. I thought Treadwell was more quiet. I thought Izuchukwu was the better of the two second rows for sure. Very good game from Izuchukwu, to be fair. He was involved in everything. I think he's a second rower, or a 6, that kind of hybrid, back rower / second row. But I think we are kind of sorted in the back row. So we've got the likes of Ryan Baird, who seems to be going at 6 now. Tyke Byrne if you need it, but him and I kind of like having Tyke Byrne at 6 and then James Ryan and Joe McCarthy, and then put Tom Ahern in with Joe McCarthy in the future. I think that'd be our partnership that we go for in the second row. And Izuchukwu coming off the bench and then eventually taking over from one of those two at second row. That would be how I'd see it. I would say. But yeah, Eric O'Sullivan got a good try, so up to Mary's lads. But Finlay Bealham had the measure of him the whole game, unfortunately. Showed his experience and dominated, and Scott Wilson, Dennis Buckley. I don't really know if that was the main issue. I think it was just I think Buckley and Wilson were kind of matched. Wilson's kind of a bigger lad and Buckley's more short and stout, that farmer type build. So you saw far back Scott Wilson had to put his feet, which meant that he was going to ground a few times. But the loose head side, with Eric O'Sullivan going to the ground and dropping that elbow like I was talking about, the left elbow, that means that it's nigh on impossible to get any stability in the scrum. So that was an area Connaught won for sure. The Ulster back row, however, were very good. Nick Timoney had an excellent game, got a try, deservedly so. Just check something there, sorry. But yeah, Nick Timoney was excellent. Nick Timoney. And McNabney was brilliant. Such a good game. Carrion was so physical. He's a young lad, like they said, academy player. He did outstandingly well. His physicality was unbelievable. I just thought he really led and took the bull by the horns. Nathan Doak came back and added a lot more assurance to that team, And the Murphy boys playing against each other. That was a good battle. But yeah, you'd feel that Connaught really left it out there, that they could have done a lot better. I thought anyway. So like Eric O'Sullivan got the first try, Nick Timoney got the second. Nathan Doak really kicked well just to keep them taking over, but Mac Hansen had a very good game, and he's talked a good game in the media, backed it up with that performance, did very well. Cordero has not lived up to the hype at all, I don't think, for the exciting player we saw at Exeter and for Argentina, and Bordeaux as well, it just hasn't lived up to the expectation. Pierce O'Connor has physical presence in the fullback position, and he got one over his opposite number, Michael Lowry, a few times, but to be fair, Lowry is a brave soul, only a little lad, but he certainly punches above his weight. So I thought Sean Jansen, when he came on, was very good, very physical, and also got his hands free. If he could have just held that pass, the last one, but shoulda, woulda, coulda. Connaught left an awful lot of points out there. They just did not play well enough to win that game. So areas like where I felt Ulster were stronger, thought their back row basically won them that game. Both their forwards both their tries coming from forwards, They want to sort that scrum out because it was demolished. but their line-out was good. For the most part, it wasn't great, but it was okay. Let's say decent enough. But it was a source of tries for them before, with Tom Stewart, um, playing at hooker, and then he would always be at the back of the mall, and they would score loads of tries off that. So that's an area of strength for Ulster if they can get that going again. Matty Ray being decent as well. Harry Sheridan looks good when he comes on. Strong fella. But it's not as if Andy Warwick made much of a difference when he came on at Loosehead for Eric O'Sullivan. So I don't know. They want to get the set piece sorted out completely, because they're not going to go far if they come up against bigger opposition. The Connaught wouldn't be the biggest team. They always get slated for being small. You come up against the South African pack, you're going to be destroyed in the scrum, and they have been many times. So wasn't the best of games, was it? I think anyone watching would be kind of like, look, not brilliant. It feels a bit dead, a lot of the inter-pro clashes. There's not that fire in the belly that you'd normally see, which I don't get. I always think to myself, there's always a big clash. There was a bit of feistiness at the end, or the Leinster Munster game, but you expect that, don't you? Prendergast and Ahern just after half time. Joe McCarthy going in and shoving again with Gavin Coombs. Those little dangly bits at the mullet. Don't know what's going on there, but still a good player. But yeah, I thought Leinster dominated. I thought they held Munster out easily enough and finished them off, really. Their depth on the bench is just much greater than Munster's. I felt like the Connaught to Ulster game was nowhere near the quality of the the quality of Leinster against Munster. I feel like might have been evenly matched, because there has been, like, when you think about it, was it 35-33? Munster beat Connaught by earlier in the season, the first game of the season, and then 22-19 Munster beating Ulster. So that's good, to see that close game. But Leinster, I think their resources are just starting to show their dominance. It really is. Although Connaught did get close, but I think consistency is Connaugh's problem, and it has been for a while. Like, and everybody was saying, like, if you base their performance against Leinster, where they were very unfortunate, you would say they'll go out and beat Ulster at home. You think they will. They have to. But it was there for them. They just didn't have the quality to do it. And they had a dominant scrum. Their line out functioned extremely well. Sorry, just getting a bit of coffee in the tash. So, don't know. Looking forward to the Six Nations, as I've been saying. Hope you all have a good New Year's Eve. But yeah, look, not the most exciting weekend of rugby, but some positives to take from it. One thing I did notice, and I've been saying this before, is the reliance on forwards. So Tom Ahern scored Munster's only try. Now both the halfbacks got Leinster's first two tries, but then Doris and Van der Fleer, two other forwards, scoring Leinster's final two tries to wrap up the bonus point. And then Ulster, Eric O'Sullivan and Nick Timoney, another two forwards. So, like, three forwards scoring in the Leinster Munster game, two scoring in the Ulster Connaught game. So, what does that mean? Well, 8 tries were scored, okay, and out of those 8 tries, only 3 of them were by backs. 5 of them were by forwards. So you're kind of just thinking to yourself, is that just a thing? Because, like, it obviously is with the provinces, where the forwards are picking up the slack. It's just something that worries me. It's something I've been talking about. That's why if our line-out's not functioning, we're screwed. Because you see how much our forwards pick up the slack. Shows me that our backs aren't fouling anyone. They're not creating enough. They're not outplaying the other back line. Too predictable, which means we have to rely on the forwards to truck it up and score. But promising signs anyway with Prendergast, he can pull the strings like the puppet master. But he looks like a puppet off his strings, doesn't he? Sometimes, but then he comes up with moments of brilliance. So no, he's coming into his own, and it's good to see. Would have been good to see him and Crowley play each other, but look, hopefully in the future. And then Nathan Doak being able to kick, if you have a scrum half that can kick. I mean, Craig Casey for me would be the first choice in behind Gibson Park, but look, it's one to consider for the future. Anyway, have a good New Year, guys, and plenty of good rugby ahead, I'm sure. Thank you very much.